What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Your guy Cody here, and the Indianapolis Colts play a football game this week. Thank goodness we are finally here. Really excited for this week, the week leading up to it. All this fun stuff we get to do, all the people we get to talk to, all the conversations we get to have, all the new storylines. Now that we are officially in game week. So with that, wanted to make a quick little video here talking about quarterback Anthony Richardson, right? 5 days away from the regular season, from him making his regular season debut at the NFL level. So I wanted to kind of briefly touch on what are some things that we need to see from Anthony Richardson here in week number one for it to be considered a good start to his career. Now, again, this could go in a lot of different directions, but I wanted to kind of narrow it down to a couple different points that I want to see. Some of this stuff may be kind of points we've already talked about when it comes to the preseason and expectations and everything. Obviously, expectations are sky high for the guy taking round number one, pick number 4. Expectations are always going to be high for a guy like Anthony Richardson. And again, I think it is great that his first ever meaningful snaps will be with the home crowd backing him up, that he will have that opportunity to play at home in front of the crowd, and he'll have the crowd on his side and a lot of excitement, a lot of hype. And hopefully that'll be really good for him here. It's not like, it seems it's funny because, Andrew Luck's first game was an away game. Andrew Luck didn't have the luxury of playing his first ever NFL game at home when the regular season begins here on Sunday. So when it comes to Anthony Richardson, here are a few things that I need to see personally to consider it a good day. And before I do that, I just want to preface it by saying this. I don't need Anthony Richardson to go out there and throw 4 touchdowns. If he does, awesome, amazing, great. That's awesome. But I don't think anybody goes out there and expects Anthony Richardson to have, this incredible week number one where he's going out there and he's one of the best quarterbacks, of the week. So with that, here are some things that I expect from Anthony Richardson that I'm really would consider it being a really, really big win for him. Even if the Colts don't win as a team, it would be considered a big win from me. I think the first thing that I would say is just the fact of getting his feet wet, and it may be like, well, that's kind of a weird one to start with, but I think just the big thing for me to be considered a win is Anthony Richardson getting meaningful snaps in a meaningful NFL game can go a long way for what I would consider a success. If he can do that and he can stay in the whole game regardless of the outcome, and he can get his feet wet with as many snaps as possible, that is a huge win for week number one for Anthony Richardson. So if he can just basically be on the field, that's a win for me. And it's probably the easiest thing he can do is be on the field, right? Regardless, I'm not talking about the other stuff that I'll talk about. I'm not talking about even any stats at this point. Just being on the field and getting meaningful snaps. To me, it's a big win for a guy who's only played in 15 total games, right? I mean, really, if you count the 2 preseason games, technically 14. Between the couple drives he played in the first game and then the half he played in the second game, it essentially rounds out to almost a full game. So for that, I think that is something that we've said from the beginning, right? From the onset, is like Anthony Richardson just needs as many snaps and as many reps as he can possibly get. And so just getting him in that, playing the division rival, he's going to have the home crowd behind him. Like I said, I think it's just going to be great for him. Great for him to just get snaps, get experience, learn. And that's a big thing. And I think also with that is just the ways that he's going to learn, right? Well, what I would love to see from Richardson is if he makes a boneheaded play, which he very well might. He might make not just one, he might make a couple boneheaded plays in this game. And if he does, how does he come back from that? How does he respond, right? We saw it in the Buffalo game, week number 1. Anthony Richardson threw that interception. Again, debate up on who was at fault there, but Anthony Richardson should have never thrown that ball to begin with. So, but my point is not that. It's how did he respond? And he led 2 scoring drives the next 2. And he looked really good and looked really poised. And he's going to make mistakes. He's going to turn the ball over at times. He's going to do things that make you scratch your head. And you're just like, what in the world were you thinking there? What were you looking at, right? Every quarterback does, but especially a young quarterback with as raw and as little experience as he has, that's just a natural part of the game. So, how does he bounce back from the bad play? Can he move on? Because a lot of guys can't. A lot of guys can't move on. They have a lot of trouble moving on to the next play, right? They have a lot of trouble letting the past be in the past, right? And they focus on that and they get in their own head, and then they're out there making just ridiculous decisions, or they lack confidence. So if Anthony Richardson can shake off the bad plays, come back, make some good plays, that's considered a big win for me as well. Now getting into more of the actual gameplay, I guess, like more of the things I want to see from Anthony Richardson as a player himself when it comes to actually his progression. Is a big thing for me is just the mechanics of it all. Like Anthony Richardson, I think is definitely looking better than we anticipated in some ways, and right on track with some other ways that we've thought of when it comes to some of the mechanics that he's had, right? I mean, we all know he has the ability to put it on a dot 40, 50 yards down the field. I mean, we saw that multiple times. We've seen that in the preseason and in training camp and things like that. But like the big thing is for me, kind of what honestly the issue was with Carson Wentz in a lot of ways was just the layups. Can he make the layups? Can he make the easy, quote unquote, easy throws? No throw is easy in the NFL, but can he make those throws, right? Can he connect and be better on the short to intermediate game? Because he still had some moments, even in the last preseason game, where he was a little bit high or a little bit low or just off target on a few guys short and intermediate, but he's been pretty good, all things considered, when it comes to the deep ball. So like, can he be better in the short to intermediate game, which admittedly was kind of the big, question mark, was kind of the big thing that he had to work on. And so how does he look from the first preseason game to this game? And can he get better as the game goes along too? If he has a couple misses early, can he respond and make some key plays, put the ball in the hands of his playmakers? So that's a big thing for Richardson for me. And then I think, for me, when it comes to Anthony Richardson and kind of what I want to see is I just want to see the multifaceted ways that he plays the game, right? I mean, that's just something that as, people who watch and cover the team like we do, we just haven't seen, it feels like forever, right? Carson Wentz had a little bit of a glimpse of that. He could make some plays with his legs sometimes. Last year, that was not the case at all. And we saw it a couple times, multiple times in the preseason, right? Where Anthony Richardson, if the Colts had the similar quarterback situation they had last year, there were multiple times there would have been sacks in the preseason that Richardson turned into, either throwaways or positive plays. And that's just a big thing I'm looking for Richardson, is just the life and the spark that he's going to give this offense with a new aspect that frankly the Colts haven't had maybe ever in their quarterbacks. Is just the multifaceted, kind of the multidimensional ways that he's going to attack this Jacksonville defense. So that's a big thing that I'm looking for is, can Anthony Richardson, and I know he can, but will he be able to use his arm when he needs to use it, obviously, but use his legs as well to really, keep the Jaguar defense on their toes. So that's a big thing that I'm looking for Anthony Richardson. So if that makes sense, those are kind of the four things that I am looking for, that I would consider, if these four things happen and they happen well, it's going to be a successful day for Richardson. I'm going to feel pretty good about where he's at. Again, knowing that, the Colts are underdogs in this game, Anthony Richardson still has some things he definitely has to iron out. He's definitely nowhere close to being a finished product. But I think, you got to start regardless of the outcome. The big thing I think this year that we can all agree on is obviously the record you pay attention to, but the biggest thing is the progression of number 5. Can he progress? How does he progress? How does he look, even from, on Sunday to week 17? How does he look? How does he progress throughout the season? Are there noticeable, tangible things that you can take away and say he's growing in that area? He is a better quarterback and a better player, in week 17 than he was in week number 1. I mean, we could probably already say that, from the spring to now, Anthony Richardson's a better football player. So that just needs to continue to progress. But those are the four things, guys, that I have. Just the experience piece. I mean, that's the big one, right? Talking about his ability to bounce back. Can he move on to the next play? His mental kind of capacity to do that. And then the third one, obviously, being the mechanics. That's a big one, with him. That's the biggest noticeable flaw with him. And also just using his legs, being multidimensional, being multifaceted, and attacking this Jacksonville defense. So those are the four things I'm watching for Anthony Richardson. And I think if he does those things and does those well, regardless if the Colts win or not, I think that's a big win. So let me know your guys' thoughts overall when it comes to this. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Is there anything else that you want to see to consider this a win for Anthony Richardson here in week number 1? Let me know all those things in the comments below, but that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Colts.